Here.
Trustee Foley,
Here.
trustee Sojci,
Here.
president Bison,
Here.
treasurer Noel Gilbert,
Here.
and clerk Whitsitt is here.
Approval of the agenda, we have a couple of changes to make. For unfinished business, the Channing Street handicap sign removal, we will go into closed session prior to that action to consider a written opinion from our attorney.
So are we putting closed session?
So it'd be kinda like-
communications?
Yeah, we'll say, closed session after communications committee reports. And then under new business, I have two items to add. J, MDOT funding request for 27 Mile in Gratiot. And K, marathon parcel discussion. Does anybody else have any additions or changes they'd like to see?
I make a motion to accept the agenda as presented with the additional items.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comments on the agenda? Do we have anybody from the public who would like to speak on any of the agenda items? Seeing none, approval of minutes, council meeting minutes for April 11th, 2023.
I'll move to approve the minutes for the council meeting on April 11th, 2023.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, consent agenda.
I'll move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Payment of bills, treasurer's report.
Okay, approval of April 2023 payroll, $67,484.83, and the bills to be paid for May 2023, $216,176.85, for a total of $283,661.68.
I'll move that we pay the bills in the amount of $283,661.68.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Roll call.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
trustee Buckhouse,
Yes.
trustee Guerrero,
Yes.
trustee Donna,
Yes.
trustee Gilbert,
Yes.
trustee Sojci,
Yes.
president Bison.
Yes. And treasurer's report for the...
And the total village assets, $6,962,692.11.
Make a motion to file the treasurer's report, assets of $6,962,692.11.
Second.
Been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, communications committee reports. Clerk.
The agenda items for the June 13th, 2023 meeting are due by June 3rd, June 2nd, 2023.
Planning commission. Trustee Gilbert.
The planning commission met last week. We had two items that we had to deal with. One was a lot split on Main and Lincoln. So the lot split was approved. And the other item was the ongoing issue with Perry Acres, the PK Housing don't agree with our request that they put in a sidewalk along John River Drive. So we're going back and forth on, do they need a sidewalk? Should we require a sidewalk? And we believe that we do, and our ordinance supports that we do.
Is there also discussion outside? Or,
signage is gonna come up on the next agenda as far as, signs on, it was brought to our attention that the new development at 26 McGrath would like to get a sign. The current ordinance only allows a sign on one side of the building. And they're gonna be requesting that we allow a sign on the 26-mile side also.
Parks and Rec report, trustee Guerrero.
We met last month, the River Days are going to be June 10th at 9 a.m. So we're looking for some volunteers and whatnot, in contact with the high school and waste management and all that. We also in talks of discussion about Tigers games, tentative dates, and Cedar Point trips.
I'll also add to that, I did have discussions with Mr. White from Smart EMS, from Richmond Lennox EMS. He mentioned that there was the possibility that if we did want to have coach buses for trips, that he might be able to figure out a way to assist in that. All right, so then that brings us to the added agenda item for closed session to consider a written opinion from our attorney. We have a motion.
I make a motion to go into closed session at 7:07
Support.
To discuss.
to discuss,
To consider a written opinion. from our
to
legal.
consider a written opinion from our legal team.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Roll call.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Dilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
Trustee Succi?
Yes.
Trustee Noma?
Yes.
President Bison?
Yes.
President Myson, the camera will go off while you're in closed session, and it will return as soon as you call it back into the meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right. We need a motion to return from closed session.
Make a motion to return from closed session at 7:21.
Support.
It's been moved and supported.
You want to be safe, yeah.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Dilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Noma?
Yes.
Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
Trustee Succi?
Yes.
President Bison?
Yes. All right, that takes us into unfinished business. Channing Street handicap sign removal. Mr. Geralchik, you want to come up? I don't know if we have any questions that reiterate anything with code enforcement. Does anybody have any questions in regards to the subject for Mr. Geralchik? Okay, motion's in order.
I will make a motion, I don't have the address in front of me at all. Quickly, does anybody have it?
32085 Channing.
32085 Channing, thank you. I will make a motion to remove the handicap sign that is in place at 32085 Channing in 30 days.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Roll call, please.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Noma?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
No.
Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
Trustee Succi?
Yes.
Trustee Dilbert?
Yes.
And President Bison?
Yes. All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have setting a public hearing for general operating millage. I would propose that we do the public hearing before next month's council meeting. Do that at 6:30.
I'll move that we set the public hearing for the operating millage for June 13th at 6:30.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor? All opposed? And public hearing for fire special assessment millage. I think we could do a 2-for-1 deal with that one.
Yeah, we usually do.
I'll move that we set the public hearing for the fire special assessment village for June 13th at 6:30.
Support.
Moved and supported, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. SEMCOG representative, clerk, what's that?
I was contacted by SEMCOG, they needed a new representative. The previous representative was the former president. We need a delegate and then an alternate, and the delegate must be an elected official, but the alternate can be an elected official, office staff, or individual selected by the board. And she did say whomever volunteers or gets appointed, she will reach out for brief orientation to catch you up on current resources and everything that they offer.
And I believe, I'm not sure who has knowledge of it, but I think the SEMCOG meetings are once a month. Yeah, right, they're usually downtown, unfortunately, not exactly close. Do we have anybody that's willing to volunteer to be a representative? I'm kind of drowning in meetings myself.
I will do it,
Sure.
but yeah, I may not be at every meeting though. So,
All right, so we'll have trustee Gronkowski as our representative. Do we have anybody that wants to be the delegate? If not, I'm willing to be the backup for Tracy.
I just back up, what day is
Or
it?
you're willing to be
it's
backup?
it's like at 10 o'clock in the morning, usually during the week.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be back up.
Okay. So we have trustee Gronkowski as the name, and then we'll have trustee Guerrero as the backup.
Okay.
Thank you both, I appreciate it. Speed limit signs. I sent everybody a memo regarding this subject. Unfortunately, this is the most, I'm going to bite my tongue. This is the most backwards, we'll say. It's the most backwards process I've ever seen in my life. Unfortunately, there is the state law that states that all speed limit signs have to be supported by a speed study. The speed study has to be performed by Michigan State Police. Basically, they're trying to sunset 25-mile-an-hour speed limit zones being arbitrarily set by municipalities. So, as you can tell, or as everybody knows, previous to last week, basically every street west of Gratiot was at some points 35, but then went down to 25. So we have Main Street, Clark, and Haven Ridge. Michigan State Police ordered that we had to have the signs removed, that they were illegal and unenforceable. So the signs have been taken down. They have told us that what we have to do is give it at least a month for traffic to realize the signs aren't there. Although I think the post was on social media by Friday, so it didn't take a month. They have to give it another month for traffic to normalize driving to a speed that everybody feels comfortable driving. Once that takes place, Michigan State Police will come back out and perform a speed study to determine what 85% of the traffic is driving at, and that's what the speed limit will be set to. The main purpose of this is to determine what the 85th percentile of this, is for a speed limit, and so that you're only going after the 15% that are truly violating what the normal speed is on that road. So as you have people coming from out of the village limits, entering into the village, outside of the village, it's 55. I believe on Main it does come down to 45 first. But unfortunately, once they enter into the village, there's nothing that really tells anybody to slow down. So unfortunately for the next, they said 45 days to 90 days until they do the speed study. The unposted speed limit is 55 miles an hour if it's not posted. There is some gray area about residential zone areas. It's 25 if it's unposted. But we don't quite know if Main Street or if Haven Ridge or Clark really qualify as a residential zone.
So in the meantime, there is a speed limit because I can't drive 100 miles an hour down. It'll be 55 by state law, so there'll still be tickets going for that kind of speed, right?
Correct, yeah, so our traffic enforcement officers are still making their presence known. If they are going over 55, they can write tickets. Unfortunately, the chances of that happening are probably pretty high for folks that are just coming in from outside of the village. But I also hear that there are a lot of folks that, everybody's gotten so used to it being 25 that they're continuing to drive that speed, especially when they see the presence of Macomb County, on Haven Ridge or on Main Street. So hopefully, my biggest fear, especially for the remainder of the school year, is that we have bus stops along these roads with kids. We have kids crossing the street, walking to and from Merritt. We have, buses and parents delivering kids to the admin building. Unfortunately, I feel like this is a little reckless that they allow the speed limits to jump so dramatically without any warning, and we still have to deal with the school year, and I just really hope that nobody gets injured as a result of this. So, this is mostly just
Feels like a really dangerous way.
exactly, yeah, it feels very backwards. So,
Ryan, I drove back roads going all the way to Midland, and every town had their 25-mile-an-hour signs up. Every town. Right, from Armada on up.
yeah. Some of the municipalities, I think, are able to get away with 25 if they have a formally recognized business district, like along the Main Street. And unfortunately, I don't think we have we don't have a formally recognized DDA in place to be able to do that. But depending on what the results of the speed study is, we might need to look into what we need to do to. They did say once the speed studies are complete, depending on what the new speed limit is, if Merritt or if the admin building wanted to put in school zones, they could actually apply. They would have to apply for it, but they could apply for it and then apply for special speed limit during school hours or whatnot.
I just don't understand why they put the signs up while doing study,
Yeah.
Makes more
Right.
sense, right, more safe for the village.
Mhm.
Why, you said it's backwards, ass backwards.
Yeah. I was biting my tongue with this.
How's that for you?
Yeah, I know I wasn't happy about it. I know our DPW superintendent was, during our department head meeting the next day, he was in quite the fog still over the whole situation. We were just all kind of flabbergasted by it,
So you said the state is sunset, when did this process begin by the state? Is this something that came up relatively recent, or?
So the law was put in place, I don't remember what date the law was put into place, but the MCL says that actually by January of 2023, Michigan State was supposed to have done the speed studies and submitted all the paperwork to the state for approval. So admittedly, they reached out to me in December about this, and then I never heard back from them until they started showing up at the office, knocking on the door, looking for me. And that's when I gave them a call, and they said, yep, we need to take a ride around the village and talk. So they do say there's a 5-alarm, the sergeant with the Michigan State Police says in his opinion this is a 5-alarm fire, so it's at the top of his priority list to get this done as quickly as possible. But unfortunately, there's this grace period that they have to do to allow traffic to normalize, as he explains it. So it's disappointing to say the least. I did also take this to our prior state rep, Jeff Yaroch, who's the deputy for Representative Green, our current representative. I also took this to Commissioner Kraft. I took this to the Road Commission, Macomb County Sheriff's Department. Brought it up to everybody, and unfortunately, it's just everybody says the same thing. It is what it is, as backwards as it is. So, but mostly just I wanted to at least be transparent about what's going on and why they went down. I was really hoping that social media wouldn't catch on, but that only took until Friday, and it was posted online, so everybody noticed it. Any other questions on that topic? Item E, Parks and Rec pay. So this has been a request from members of the Parks and Rec Committee. I have a memo in the packet. You know, our Parks and Rec Committee, they're really the ones that put on our village events. You know, they take the time to plan all of the awesome things that we do, you know, through the summer with slow roll, movie nights. You know, the village kind of puts together the idea of Red Hot and Blue, or what used to be Rocket Fest. But then it's really our Parks and Rec Committee that then is the one that gets stuck, you know, running the event. And up until now, it's always been for free. It's always been a volunteer role that they get paid for the meetings, the once a month meeting, but they don't get paid for actually the work and time that they put into running the event. And talking with the Parks and Rec Committee members and trying to come up with, what would be like a fair, payment or compensation for their time and energy that they spend running these events. The idea was that, they're already being paid the $60 per meeting, so the ask would be to pay them $60 for the events that they work. For smaller events like Slow Roll or Movie Night in the Park, where it really only requires 2 Parks and Rec Committee members to run, they have an event chair and an event co-chair. Then the request would be that we just pay the 2. But then in larger events like Red Hot and Blue, where it's all hands on deck, we would ask that we keep a log of who actually came in, who worked, what their duty, what they did, and then they can be paid accordingly. I'm curious what everybody's thoughts are on that.
Is this for all volunteers or just for the people on the Parks and Rec Committee?
That's a good question. Right now, Trustee McGuire, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for the most part, really the volunteers that you guys have at the guns really are just Parks and
Yeah,
Rec,
we
right?
don't have a volunteer, we haven't had it since I've been.
Yeah.
Theoretically, let's say we do, but does it apply to them or just the committee members?
I think if it's a big event like Red Hot and Blue, or like when we had our 150th, festival, I think in those circumstances, maybe what we could do is we could have it,
Bring it to council?
yeah, bring it to council for those events on an event by event basis. But for the smaller events, where it's like our weekly or monthly events, the Slow Roll, Movie Night in the Park, music in the park, that could just be the event chair and the event co-chair, which would be Parks and Rec Committee members.
So how about we just set it at 2 people per event, and then anything exceeding that, they come back?
Sure. That sounds good.
And
Yeah.
what is that rate, 50 or 60?
$60 would be $120 for a meal.
Would we need a resolution and/or ordinance to establish that? Because the ordinance to establish their pay.
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably need a resolution.
Yes, to establish the pay.
Okay.
It'd be safer with an ordinance, but a resolution.
Okay. Yep. So I guess if we just have a motion, then that we come back next month with an ordinance update. If council so wishes.
So I will make a motion to make a resolution to pay 2 people per event that are events that are sponsored by Park and Rec. Is that
That's $60.
It's
60 per? Okay.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Roll call.
Trustee Mankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Dilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Nona?
Yes.
Trustee Sachi?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Capoli?
Yes.
And President Meister?
Yes. All right. Thank you for that. I definitely know that our Parks and Rec Committee members appreciate that. It's nice to be reimbursed for the work that we're putting in. Item F, New Haven United. So this Thursday, May 11th, at 5:30 p.m., the Village Council, Village Hall, we're going to be hosting the New Haven United. We had our office manager, Ms. Hazel, send out the flyer to all of the area businesses, inviting them to attend. Would love to have, members of council also represented there. The New Haven United meetings are a great opportunity to get everybody together. Everybody talks about what they're working on, what their events or anything that they have going on, if they have any challenges that they're facing that maybe other members that are there at the meeting could help with. It's just an overall, just getting everybody together and communicating. It's been a very positive, powwow session that they have. The May 11th meeting also is the last one for this series. They typically run the New Haven United series through the school year. So they are working on the 2024 schedule, or 2023-2024 schedule for next school year. But otherwise, just wanted to throw that invite out there. We'll be here. We have Jimmy John's that we're bringing in for dinner, and all are welcome to attend at 5:30 p.m. DPW seasonal help, Supervisor Dillard.
Good afternoon, or evening, I should say. Just coming to you for the yearly seasonal help. This year, I'm asking to up the pay a little bit. Last year, we were at $12 an hour. And didn't really get any applicants at all. We ended up lucky now with a college student who was in college during the summer, so I worked around his schedule. But other than that, no applicants. So just trying to raise it up a little bit, so see if we get any bites.
And you're looking for 2 seasonal workers?
Yeah.
How long do they stay employed for?
5 months.
5
So,
months.
yeah, so like October 31st. If I look out and get college students, they'll be gone in August.
Questions?
I will make a motion to approve hiring 2 seasonal workers at a rate of 15 per hour.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bowkowski.
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero, trustee Senchi.
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero. Yes. Trustee Dilbert.
Yes.
Trustee Foley.
Yes.
Trustee Noah.
Yes.
President Weissman.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Fire department washer dryer purchase. Chief Steer.
Good evening. In front of you, you have a bid, a free bid for purchase of just a washer and a dryer. Our dryer solution. This machine is currently, it was here when we built the building, when we moved in. And it cannot be repaired. We've had 3 different companies come out, so we're looking to look at the purchase through Twin Emergency, which would be bid number 2.
Any questions?
Chief Steer, is there a reason for requesting purchase from bid 2, which looks to be the mid price point as opposed to bid 1, Universal Laundry?
Correct. We have worked with McQueen. McQueen used to be called Apollo. They're located right over here in Romeo. Universal Laundry was just one of the many that we called that came out to give us a bid. So we're just sticking with McQueen because we have a partnership with them.
I would like to say thanks for providing 3 bids for this request.
It was tough for us.
Did we, for the shipping, did we get any clarification on?
So
Right now it says 550-ish.
So McQueen runs with a company that periodically changes their prices and can't give a definite, hey, it's gonna be $550, or the next day, gas goes up, something happens, but it's close like it was $550.
So the $73.50 includes shipping?
Yes, sir.
And that's the only
Based on
bid.
550-ish.
Wow.
Right. There will be, so these new machines are actually a 110, so we have a 220 right now, a little bit
three of these bids, on 110?
Correct, yes.
So if you're going from 220 to 110, is it going from electric to gas?
No.
No,
So it's a 110 dryer.
Yeah, you have one.
No, I have a 220.
Drive to 220.
I don't have a
This
gas
is
dryer, I have an electric dryer.
Washer.
Oh, this is your washer.
Your dryer,
Okay.
your washer.
And your current washer is broken?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and, you know, and like it says in the memo too, you know, so it's, this is something that, you know, every time they go on a call, it's, you know, critically important that as soon as they return, they're immediately, you know, when it's a fire, they gotta immediately wash all their gear, to avoid all the contaminants and cancer and all that, which unfortunately is very high risk with fire departments.
So if you add 550-ish to the first bid, it's gonna be pretty close to the second.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because that first bid is not.
And then you have a relationship with the two.
Correct. I'm sure that's what you give me I'll pull out the bin until it comes.
Well, I'll move that we approve the bid for McQueen Emergency Services for a washing machine for the fire department, amount not to exceed $7,350.
Support.
I have a question. What if it exceeds $73.50 on the shipping? How are we gonna handle that?
Do we want to give a little bit of a buffer there, just in case the shipping is a little bit more than 550?
Is there a buffer in the ish already, or
Sorry?
is there already a buffer in the ish?
Wow. But that's, well, right, so it could be more than 550. It could be 600. It could be 650.
And an amount not to exceed 7,400.
Do we still have support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Roll call.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Suchi?
Yes.
Trustee Silver?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Dombrowski?
Yes.
Trustee Lennon?
Yes.
And President Smith?
Yes. Thank you, sir. All right. MDOT TEDF Category B funding resolution. So the street committee met a couple weeks ago now to discuss potential road repairs for, and this would apply for the 2024 calendar year. You know, and going through the map of the Pazer ratings and what actually needs to be done, you know, frankly, when you look at the Pazers, you know, Pazer map, darn near every street, residential street, is in need of repair. The thought process is that we've been doing a lot of work within Rooney sub, Weathervane sub. If we were to do the grant funding for Cynthia, Kathy, and Redford, that would close out that subdivision basically. That everything, we would have touched pretty much all of the roads in the subdivision. And then subsequent years, council could, or it's the, you know, street committee and council would be able to focus attention on a different area of the village. So the thought was to try, you know, we wrap up that one subdivision, we can move to another area, and we can just continue going around. When you look at the Pazer rating, it's, you know, it's pretty equal across the board that there's so many streets that are in need of repair. So trying to narrow it down was difficult. The Category B funding is a 50-50, I believe, up to $250K match. So the first recommendation was for Cynthia, Kathy, and Redford. And then the other thought was that we could focus on AM Betts Drive. That currently is gravel road. We could do a blacktop improvement on that. And that actually would not be as much of a cost. But we thought that maybe we might get some bonus points in consideration for the fact that we're taking a gravel road and paving it. You know, that's getting rid of a gravel road, and vastly improving the maintenance then needed for that street.
So how's this application gonna look? I mean, I guess I'm a little confused here.
So they, for this year's application, they're allowing us to do 2 grants.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that. They're allowing us to do 2 grants. So we can do the 2 separate submissions, one for the Cynthia, Kathy, and Redford, and then the other one for AM Vets Drive. Hopefully we get both. Hopefully, worst case scenario, we don't get any. Mid case scenario, we only get one or the other. Otherwise, we do have 2 resolutions that Clerk Whitsett put together for us, and thank you, Clerk, for doing so.
So would you be a number?
The first one for Kathy, Cynthia, and Redford is 2023-004. And then the one for AM Vets would be 2023-005.
Trustee Gilbert.
Would we have been better off maybe taking one of the top streets, either Cynthia, Kathy, or Redford, and putting it with AM Vets Drive?
No, I think that would have took us below 250 for that
Yeah.
project and to get the most out of it.
Yeah,
It would have taken us below 250 on the
for the match.
Really?
So we estimated that the Cynthia, Kathy, and Redford put us right at 500 for the mill and fill.
Well, that's, okay.
Yeah, thankfully it's those stretches aren't too bad. Redford was just a small section from what I remember, because we already have a decent amount that's still good over there. So it would be Cynthia, Kathy, and then just a small portion of Redford.
Okay, the portion of it.
Yeah, a portion of Redford, not the whole. Yeah, so that's why it wasn't too
The
bad.
east side of Redford Drive.
East side, yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I know we did this last year
Yes.
for other streets and we didn't get it. So do we know why we didn't get it last time?
No, there's,
They don't disclose the reasons why, they just say granted or denied.
So they're not coming and looking at the street?
Oh, they are.
They are, trust me, they are.
Well, that's what I'm asking. So are these streets equal, better, or worse
Worse.
than the streets that we previously put in?
Worse.
Okay. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying, and unofficially, my opinion is they came in and saw what was applied for last year and said, no, these streets aren't needed.
yeah, so I know that there's been concern about Channing Street, that there is a section that's bad in Channing Street. That's something that we could definitely take a look at doing outside of the grant funding.
Okay.
To still, take care of that. And talking to Sir there was discussion that maybe when we go to do, when they're out here to do Manning Street, maybe we could see if we could get a quote to see how much it would cost to, while they're here, to also cut and, mill and fill that section of Channing.
Yeah,
So
even if they
it's-
just did part of it.
Right, the worst part of it.
It's
So
down to-
it's, I don't want the residents of Channing to feel like we're ignoring that there's a bad spot. It's just that for the grant funding, these are the ones that we felt we might have a better chance. Trustee Suchi, Sashi?
If denied, like we were last year, can we request at least an explanation for the denial, whether they give it to us or not? I mean, I don't think it would at least hurt to ask, right?
We could try.
Just to give us a better idea if we do get denied.
Right, what are we doing wrong?
Yeah, what are we doing wrong, and can we bid it next year to try and find a way to get approval for something like this?
Right.
When
More
they,
you know.
when they come to inspect, do we know when they're coming? Do we meet them on site for the inspection, Sir?
No, they don't give notices. They just show up.
That's why it's important, and let me say this, it's important that when we make these applications, we're making applications for legitimate projects. Last year's application for Chanel Street, I knew it's never gonna fly, because there's nothing wrong with Janelle. They're gonna give you $250,000 to repair a perfectly good street. We need to make sure that we're putting in for streets that are needed repair.
We need to use the street committee as our vehicle
Well,
for those recommendations.
Right. Yeah,
No pun intended.
The street committee didn't really change.
right, the street committee was.
That wasn't, don't put that on.
No, but I said that's why we need to use the street committee as
Yeah.
our vehicle to make these decisions.
Right, last year the street committee wasn't involved with those, so. Any other questions, discussion on well, we don't have a motion, so, any other questions?
I'll move to adopt resolution 2023-004, a resolution establishing a request for funding designated an agent to test to the existence of funds and commit to implementing a maintenance program for the full reconstruction or rehabilitation of certain streets within the village of New Haven, funded by the Transportation Economic Development Fund category. The streets would be, what's listed in the, I was just looking
Could you start that one up from the top?
There we go. Kathy Court, Cynthia Drive, and the east side of Redford Drive.
Can you start that one from the top? No, just.
Give it all a shot.
We have a motion, do we have a support?
support.
All right, it has been moved and supported, resolution, I guess we'll just do it as we'll do a roll call.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Dilfer?
Yes.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Nona?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Suchi?
Yes.
President Dyson?
Yes. Next up, AM Best Drive.
I'll make the motion that we adopt resolution number 2023-005 in support of an application of Category B funding for Amwest Drive.
Support. Can I comment? I just want to make a comment, like, can we try to find out about this inspector when he's coming? Like, if I could find out who the inspector is and when he's coming, do we have somebody that can meet him on site?
They're not gonna tell us.
Yeah.
They're gonna show
There's
up.
no change.
They're not gonna tell us we have no information. That's why, like what was talked about before, we have to make these stick. We have to really do streets that need to be repaired and not just put streets on it for whatever reason. They have to be reasonable damage and, according to the paper.
We have contact people that we had, that once we're funded, we have individuals with MDOT that we have contact with. Okay, who kind of, walks us through the project. But, they're gonna tell you when they're coming out, and they're not gonna tell you who the individuals are. This is weird. And in all honesty, it's the way it should be, The only fear is that our fiasco last year doesn't hurt us for the future.
We have motion and support. Any other discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Dilfer?
Yes.
Trustee Pankowski?
Yes.
Trustee Suchi?
Yes.
Trustee Nona?
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Foley?
Yes.
President Dyson?
Yes. Continuing with the discussion about MDOT. So last month, I came to council asking for a funding increase for 27 at Gratiot. On the table here before you, I have an email. I tried to keep it short to just the two pertinent emails. Basically, when we were following up with them to make sure that we were good to go and get everything scheduled, the contractor, engineer that they have working on the project said, whoopsie, we forgot another line item. And oh, by the way, we need an additional funding request of $39,096.38. Sir Matt and I both grilled him quite a bit, saying that we need to make sure that this is absolutely the last funding request when work isn't even being done, because inevitably we know once they start doing the work, they're going to come up with additional funds that they're going to need. So they have committed that they've ran the numbers and they are sure that this is the funds that they need. My faith in that statement isn't that high. They have committed though, and I don't know if it's on this email chain, it's not on this email chain. They did commit that it should be approved this tonight and inform them ASAP that this additional funding has been approved, that the 27 realignment for the lanes, they would be able to get it onto the schedule for late July. So we would finally at least have it on the schedule, hopefully started soon.
Who's the contractor?
It's MDOT and then the, well, do we want to say the contractor's name? I mean,
Yeah, it's public information.
okay, yeah, Michael Baker International. Yeah, unfortunately, they, we, before Sir Matt and I came to council last month, we met with MDOT. They repeatedly assured us that they had ran the numbers, and those were the final numbers, the 46 that we did last month. And then now she's saying they missed a line item about additional traffic control devices because we didn't complete the work in 2022. So they're going to need the $39,000 for traffic control devices.
Who didn't complete the work in 2022?
They didn't.
They did.
I know.
Yeah, we should not have to pay for.
We should not have to pay because they didn't do the work.
That's number one.
The modernization of the intersection was all MDOT. We're doing the road. We are not moved up their modernization schedule to coincide with that, but that's not us.
Right.
Yeah, well, because the work. So if I guess if we're gonna say that we're the ones doing the road, then I guess we're the ones that didn't get the work done last year because the work didn't get done because of the additional drainage work that was needed in the northwest corner.
No, but did you say that this was missing the line item for signals?
This was something that they hadn't put into the figure when they were calculating what the funds were needed for the increase.
Yeah, but I'm concerned about our portion. Our portion does not include anything with the signals at that intersection. That was MDOT's project that they moved up to coincide with ours so that they only had to do one construction project instead of two.
This additional increase is for all of the traffic control that's going to be needed for while the work is going on.
That's what this is for? This
yeah.
is what 39,000 is for?
Yeah, so on page 2, they talk about remobilization, temp traffic control adjustment, which had to do with this, I think that's the sign that they bring out, the arrow sign.
Which says it's just a budgetary number.
Yeah,
Did you say
right,
that?
they say that's just a budgetary number. They got
This isn't a flat
contractor,
number.
right, contractor staking, and then they also have staking plan errors and extras.
Yeah, that's not related to this intersection. This is the actual construction traffic. The flaggers and the barrel.
I heard a signal now.
Sorry, that might have been a speaker.
Okay, all right.
So the last email that we received on Monday says Erica from Baker already confirmed that the contractor agreed to this amount.
Even though this says it's a budgetary?
So Michael Baker International said that this is the last change over there, right?
Before work begins.
Yeah, once they start digging, anything can happen. Trustee Miller?
So if I'm reading this right, when we received this grant, our original amount was $66,000 we had to contribute. that 66 has grown to $178,000, which is more than the original project.
Right. How many times have we said in the past, I think I know where you're going with this, how many times have we said in the past that when we work with MDOT, it's more expensive for us to do this project?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's MDOT, if it's this contractor, or has the Macomb County Road Commission been involved in this project?
Mr. Madden, I think they're.
Somewhere there has to be some meeting of the minds, some political connection, something, because we're getting screwed.
I told someone, right?
Okay? Our 66,000 has grown to 178, and the original project was only, what, 145, 100 and...
Well, no, the only small stipulation is just that there was the additional work that was sewer work, so I mean, or
That-
drainage work, but
that
yeah,
I
I mean,
understand.
still, yeah,
How that happens, but that one item has now grown to
right.
more than the original contract price.
How much is that stormwater portion added to the project by itself?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say they said that the concrete for it alone was like for the piece was like, weren't they saying like 30,000 or 35,000?
Yeah, more than that. Because they had to replace all three entrances.
Can this project be rebid?
Yeah, that's.
Not with that. If we tell them no, we lose our grant portion. So we have to pay for the entire 100% of the project cost.
Well, I mean, what's the entire project?
Right.
I'm trying to find it.
And what was the?
I think it was $500,000 or something.
No, it was not that much.
It is now.
When that grant was received back in 2020, 2019,
19.
and I mean, all these delays that were not caused by the village, but now it's costing us a lot of money. For a project that was approved because of the safety issues that it created.
Yeah, I mean, that's my conundrum with this, is it's like, you know, we've already approved so much. I would hate to,
So the original project from 19, the engineering estimate for it is 257,000. What we applied for first.
250.
250.
And how much did we get? Including the public agreements?
we applied for 250 and our portion was 66.
Yeah, sorry, 254.
Yeah, they covered 80%.
Yep.
And now we're approaching a figure that is approaching the original estimate. Had we just paid for it
$800,000.
out of our pocket, it had been done 3 years ago and cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eggs are 4 times as much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I mean, you know, with today's prices, who knows what it would have done today compared to 2019.
We're going to move forward with the project in 2019.
Yeah. We could have gotten on with COVID though.
The
too,
delay,
but-
the delay was, one was COVID and one was.
We knew that when we got into 19, that it wasn't funded until 20.
Yeah, it would have been, started doing a program.
They told us that up front.
Yeah. I know, but it's,
COVID.
yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, and it's like, you know, we're so close to, you know, being able to get this on the schedule. I hate to throw it off, but I also definitely 100% agree with all the frustration.
But that 250 also didn't include the underground stuff. Maybe they didn't find that until they
Yeah,
started
we
getting
didn't
into
know
it, so
True.
we would have had to cover that either way.
I do know that every time I see the site plan for, once this is all done, that intersection is gonna be nice. It'll be walkable.
Well, no.
I don't know if it's, the increased cost nice, but,
Well, they're not touching the road at the intersection. So Gratiot's gonna be untouched.
right, it'll just be a 27-mile portion.
Yeah, it'll be 27 miles.
But we'll also have real crosswalks on all four
Yeah.
corners
Yeah, they're
and
doing all that.
sidewalk along
A little bit
northwest
cleaner,
corner.
It'll be better than what it was.
Yeah, sure.
Did you want to make a motion?
Okay, so they're asking for an additional
$39,096.38.
But again, that number is fluid, Brian, because
It's an estimate.
I don't see, I know you said, they said this would be the number for sure, but it doesn't say that on the second page. Because it
Well-
says it's a budgetary, being used as a budgetary value.
There might actually, we might have a little bit of wiggle room right now because of, so after we came to them and came back and said we approved the 46,000, Erica from, Michael Baker reran the numbers and I think she actually said that the number that we actually needed to approve was 42. So we actually approved more than what we needed to. Every time we talk to them, they changed what the amount was.
So man, what's their, no, that's okay. No, I don't want to ask you what their rating and what this contract is rating.
I never dealt with this kind of guy, these guys. I don't know if they're even a competing contractor. But they're pre-qualified with MDOT, and they've got the signalization.
Being, pre-qualified with them, that doesn't say much anymore.
So, if we go with the $39,096.38, that's what they're telling us the amount is. There's a little bit of wiggle that we apparently overfunded the last request based off of the numbers that they gave us. So if their budgetary value is off, hopefully that'll cover it.
Are we getting some kind of a report that shows where the funding is going and how they're allocating it so that you can see where that payment was and they can apply it to the 39 so that we're not paying too much for this project?
Yeah, I believe, so it's actually, I'll forward the email on to everybody. I apologize that I did not do that. I just printed it so that we had a hard copy before everybody. But there is an Excel file which shows the breakdown of all the pricing and everything. The summary of cost table that you have in both of the emails is a screenshot from her Excel file. Do we have a reluctant motion?
I just have one more quick question. So this was the only contractor that bid on this because it's,
MDOT administered the whole project.
right, so I guess
So they
we're at
received-
the mercy of MDOT, I guess is my question. Are we at the mercy of MDOT to choose the contractor?
Yes,
Okay.
they were the administrators of this project.
That was the first question that we considered when we started this project, was we could do it ourselves or work with MDOT to do the whole intersection plus this, but we give up control. And this is part of the control that we give up.
And if I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember, we've had a number of projects that we've had over the years. But I mean, Trustee Dilbert, correct me if I'm wrong, haven't we had this conversation before where we said, geez, going the route of doing the grant and having to go through the county or going through MDOT,
It can be trying.
yeah, it always makes it more complicated and expensive.
And it typically costs you more.
Yeah. So I remember a discussion in the past where we said, geez, if we would have just done this ourselves. And here we are again. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the funding for $39,096.38 for the MDOT 27-mile and Gratiot project.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Pankowski.
Yes.
Trustee Dilbert.
Yes.
Trustee Guerrero.
Yes.
Trustee Sashi.
Yes.
Trustee Nona.
Yes.
And President Wyson.
Yes. Very reluctant, yes.
Field trip.
Yeah,
President Martin did that. Field trip, but it's all done, we're not gonna walk on it.
Yeah. All right, last but not least, under new business, we have marathon parcels discussion. Ms. Kazel, once it comes up.
Hello. I like being asked. A couple weeks ago, I talked to Mr. Foster about the 2 vacant parcels that are next to the restaurant down at Main Street. In the past, President Dilbert was in negotiating with Mr. Foster to donate that parcel to us so that we can make it into our thought was to make it into municipal parking. Of course, President Dilbert was not in office anymore and was approached by past administration, and now he is asking for us to buy those 2 parcels. The SUV value on the 2 parcels total is $30,700. I think that we can probably negotiate with them, maybe get it donate back to us. If I have Mr. Trustee Dilbert come with me to negotiate with him, but what I want today is to be able to talk to him and have some wiggle room on how I can negotiate with him to get that parcel. It's an eyesore right now, and we need to decide what we want to do with it. And if he's not going to do anything with it, then I want to ask him to clean that area up. So it's up to the council to let me know what I can do with this parcel. Do we want it? Do we want him to keep it? Do we want to have him clean it up? What do we want to do with this parcel? So it's up to you to give me some guidance on how you want to proceed with this 2 parcels there.
For those who may not know, that's the corner of Main and the old Marathon gas station that's since been demolished.
It's those 2 parcels up top there in the left-hand corner there.
On one of the parcels, there's a wooden, is it like a telephone pole?
It's gone.
Oh, it is, it's already gone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Code enforcement guy got it gone.
Jeez,
Friday, it's gone.
We just talked about Thursday.
Shouldn't they have cleaned it up anyway?
Huh?
Shouldn't they have cleaned up the space anyway?
Of course, well, that's the one I want to talk to him about too more. I told him it was looking pretty bad and he didn't have any comment on that, so. That was just an initial call to see if he could talk to us, so.
Yeah, and then also included in the email that Clerk West set forward to everybody, Sermet put together a couple of drawings of, if we were to acquire, however we were to acquire the 2 parcels, the opportunity of then adding municipal parking to that lot, so that when we do have our events, that, we have more parking available for residents who are driving in. We obviously have a, big increase in residents in the village, and having that additional parking would definitely be a great asset.
And I don't know if these 2 lots put together are buildable or not.
If I remember correctly, I think we were told, if the 2 parcels, if they were combined, are they buildable? I think we still said they weren't.
Not with the setbacks.
No.
I don't think with the setbacks they're buildable.
Yeah.
But the restaurant is going to open.
Create additional parking for events and the restaurant.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, admittedly, when we're not having the events, it would be an open parking lot that, if the Main Street Grill, has, a bunch of customers, they'd be able to park there. But what the plan would be is that if we were to acquire the parking lot acquire the parcels and turn it into a parking lot, that we would have some sort of signage that it's a municipal parking lot, that, reserved for parking during municipal events or something. I don't know what the verbiage would have to be, but if we have an event, on Main Street that's designated for that.
So-
Like, I'm sorry.
So the question is, you're seeking authorization to have this conversation,
Yes.
and you want me to be
Yes.
your
Plus one.
plus one?
Yes. Yes. I mean, I do know Mr. Foster, but,
Yeah, I know Tom quite well.
and I do too, so we could probably come up with something between the two of us.
See what you can get with Tommy and start that.
The goal is,
So
I don't
I,
even really know if it's a multiple item.
What?
do we need a motion?
I really don't know what you would vote
well, my question is, if he wants a price and we can't get him to donate the parcel to us,
I guess we would have to come back to
can I have a nominal fee? Can I have a nominal amount that I can go up to?
No,
No,
because it's not just
Okay,
a
that's the
number.
next question.
let's have a conversation with Tom and, you know, we'll figure out real quick whether it's gonna be a donation or if he's gonna want something, and we can bring that back maybe.
And then that conversation was, we can split it up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess then the other question too, just, you know, kind of gauging the opinion of council is that, you know, if we were to acquire it, would you want to move forward with then having it turned into a parking lot?
That would be
I mean,
cost on
that's-
that, I think.
Obviously, yeah, we would have to get costs, but I mean, the general direction would be that we would then want to look into that.
That's all we could do with
for
it.
everybody.
Yeah.
Excuse me, wasn't that the time when the bid was like 25 grand, or something like that, or was it?
We had some prices, but
Well, now it's gonna be a whole $100,000.
But it's just one of the concepts.
If we start to get serious about, you know, we have an offer or something, then we have to consider that cost too, because it's gonna be like the Lions Club all over again, you know,
Yes.
you
Right.
for this amount, and you gotta spend this.
Right.
Right, I was.
So that has to be considered before we go on, whether or not we acquire it.
Right.
Of course. So we can proceed.
Sounds like everybody's in agreement for a longer, proceed to at least a conversation.
Sounds like it, we don't have to be for now, right? Sure, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll bring the results back to council. Thank you, Ms. Spindle. All right, that brings us to call from the floor. We have anybody that would like to speak, call from the floor? Hello, if you could state your name and address. And
My name is Calvin Falcon,
My name's John Grundy.
and we're here on behalf of PV Companies. Okay, so for the 30-acre renovation that is going on. So I just kind of wanted to go over a couple of things that I wanted to make known and put on record. I know at this point right now, we need to obtain the construction permits. And one of the items for the cleaning up the new buildings is the site plan review, and that was approved by the village. The site plan at that time, like, it showed where the landscaping, parking, and areas and roads and sidewalks will be located. For renovation of existing apartments, this is not required. The village provided us with a letter in 2021 which confirmed that the site plan was not needed. At this point now, the village is now trying to reverse the decision and requiring us to go through the site plan review process. And this would require us as PK now to install a sidewalk along James Curtis Drive.
The construction plan has already included a sidewalk to be installed, which connects to the Gratiot sidewalk. You know, I guess from the existing sidewalk north and south to just a little portion of it. And also on both, there are sidewalks on the south side and the north side of each of the 3 apartment buildings. So if you got sidewalks on both sides of those buildings right now, I just think a sidewalk going straight down the side of James Curtin just seems redundant at this point. I mean,
And then also with that being said is that if we're having to put one on, we're having to actually put one down at James Curtin Drive, now this is actually having walk through our property at that point to adjacent
would essentially be a sidewalk to nowhere. I don't know, an invitation for people that don't really, I don't say belong on the property, but there's nowhere to walk through, so to speak. And the residents already have sidewalks on the north and south side of each building, so.
The cost of building the sidewalk is not in our construction budget, and so, we would have less money, we're having to do this, we would have less money to spend on improving the apartments themselves. There is also ongoing costs to clear the snow removal and repair the sidewalk as needed. The construction plans already include a sidewalk to be installed which connects the parking areas directly to Gratiot, so there will be a safe, accessible walkway for all residents to walk through Gratiot without additional sidewalks. The village is trying to require us to do. The village legal action to require site plan approval to delay the start of the renovation, which was having this approval back in 2021. We, as far as for our company, we have already had everything in place. At this point now, it's an inconvenience now to our residents, which have already started packing, started getting their belongings ready to move into, to start the renovations, which will be starting here in a couple of months. And so we would just like for you to take that into consideration.
The construction money at this point is all earmarked for everything that needs ready to go, and this would just be a huge inconvenience for everybody.
Just to clarify, so when it's called from the floor, we can't have it back and forth, so it's just for you guys to talk to the council.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Just wanna-
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other call from the floor? Mr. Harris?
Speaking of sidewalk, and I know you don't like to do from here. There's new construction that's being done on Main Street and Lincoln. And I noticed that there's no sidewalk in putting in the new construction. I was at the planning commission meeting and they indicated that it has to go through the building department. I would ask that you guys propose on the building department that when new construction is being done, that we do put in, we do have an ordinance that requires sidewalks. And they were at that meeting and was requiring putting another home in, so those will be the only two homes facing that street, so they should and ought to be told to put sidewalk in. And that's, I'll go with that.
Thank you. Any other call from the floor? Okay. Call from the table? So the only comment I have is I hope to see everybody here on Thursday at 5:30 for our Kid United. We'll have Jimmy John's to eat, and we'll all powwow and talk with our business owners and collaborate. Otherwise, a motion is in order. Moved and supported, all in favor? Aye.